I thought a long time about how I should do this video. It's hard to say. It's gonna be like a cultural video. Some things I've learned of being an expat here in Colombia for 3 years now. Things that I learned living here in Colombia, which are different than from my home country. So yeah, let's just get started with the video. Welcome to How to Expat. My name is Sam at How to Expat. We help expats relocate, but today I want to get on a more personal, general note of just, I don't know if you can say it like that, wisdom, life experiences I experienced or learned here in Medellin, Colombia, for being an expat for 3 years now, living in different parts of the city, more affluent, more rundown. Yeah, having those different experiences, talking to different people, visiting foundations in the favela, in the barrio popular, how we call it here in Colombia. And yes, so let's just start with the first point. One of the things that I've never been able to imagine was that minimum wage here is around $280 a month. And if I heard that coming from Switzerland, where the minimum wage is around $4,000, I think right now, is something I couldn't imagine how people actually can live with that. Even though, of course, they spend way less here, but still $280. Like if both parents are working, that's a little bit over $500. If rent is $200, like what do you do with the rest of the $200, $300 you have for living? And I felt very, very bad for those people because I thought it was unfair that we in the first developed world have so much money and they don't. But it's not so easy actually. What I've learned here in Colombia, usually if somebody has an organized job, they're doing very well or quite well for themselves. If they're not doing well for themselves, it's usually other reasons. That's another thing I want to go into in this video. But you don't, I think the takeaway or the point I want to get across, you don't have to feel bad if you see a taxi driver and you know he's might gonna make, like, I think the minimum wage is one thing. I think the normal, like, median wage people earn here in Colombia, or in Medellin, the city at least, is around $500, $550, which is still not a lot, right? But you don't have to feel bad for those people. Those people live a whole different lifestyle, what you are able to imagine. First of all, they live with the whole family tree in one house. So usually one pair of grandparents, then the parents, and then let's say, I don't know, the average might be, let's say, 3 kids. And then let's say the one kid is already 16, 17. They usually have some kind of side hustle. They sell, I don't know, creams to their friend. Like I have a friend like that, that sells some creams, and he's gonna bring in 100,000 pesos a month with this side gig. Then the parents work a little bit here. Then the grandparent usually helps out. Maybe the grandpa helps out with taxi driving sometimes and things like that. So they're not just bringing in $550, but they're bringing in maybe the whole family, maybe $1,200 a month. And that's usually enough to live a good life here in Medellin, actually. Like you pay maybe $250, $300 in rent, and then you have $700 to spare. Usually good enough. Of course, are you able to spend vacation on Hawaii or something like that? No, but at least they have usually a good family life. They know they have multiple family members in the same household that they can depend with their life on. Usually very, yeah, like it's just hard to describe because you just have to experience it. But usually if people have a steady income, they have a very, very good life here in Colombia. And if not, again, that's for other reasons, not just the income. Yeah, that's just a thing I learned. And getting there, like, or continuing with that on that note, so the question is why then people have, because we know Latin America, Colombia, we have a lot of issues here in this country. With violence, with crime and all of that. Of course, that's not something that's just not happening. But from my experience, that's not something that primarily has to do with the income, even though everybody says that, even though that's what we are told in our first world countries, they don't have a lot of money, so they have to steal to be able to eat. that's not really the thing. Like, you can get by here, have a house or a roof over your head, and eat for, I don't know, 200,000 pesos if you like. So you don't have to rob for that. It's really not the primary issue. So what is the primary issue? My opinion, from what I've experienced talking to people from, let's say, very, very poor to very, very rich here, is mostly it's just how it usually is in the world with people that are not happy, having a bad time. It's usually their parents, right? Like, if their parents never gave them love, never protected them, never gave them that, what a kid usually really needs, that's usually how the people, they don't have a connection to their household, they never get the right values at an early age, and then they get into the gangs, and then they get into prostitution and all of that. That's the primary reason. And that's one thing we also experienced around 2 weeks ago, where we went to a foundation we wanted to visit for the longest time. They also said usually the kids that go there that have a rough time, it's not because their parents don't have money, it's usually their parents are not taking care of them the right way, or not at all. So that's more the thing that I see, and I think maybe because of the culture, I don't know exactly where that comes from, but that's just more prevalent here in Latin America than compared, let's say, where I'm coming from Europe, from Switzerland, where more kids here in Latin America are left on their own there because of different reasons. One of the things is, of course, the high cheating rates here. So it's crazy. Even in Switzerland we have that, but the families here are usually not really intact, or not usually, but more compared to Switzerland, are not really intact. And that leads to all sorts of those issues. But again, the main takeaway here, because I'm not an expert on that topic or anything, but just that would be something I wanted to tell myself 3 years ago. The money is not the main driver of crime, and that people are not having a good time. Yes, that's one thing I wanted to mention in this kind of patchwork video, is that what is way, way better in this culture here in Colombia is that people have time. People are not worried about the future too much. Sometimes that's an issue, but most of the time that's actually very, very good for people, for their well-being here, that they don't have a 5-year plan like many of the people, or of us in the first world, have. That's one thing I also adapted to my life, to not planning years and years in the future, and not having a fixed plan that I'm gonna be the employee now, manager, I don't know, managing director, and then being the CEO of my company or something like that. Just go with the flow. I think it's good to plan a couple of months ahead and have especially a financial kind of idea what things should look like in the future, but not getting crazy and having a 2-year, 5-year plan if you don't need it, right? Some people, for them it's really good to have something like that, but I think for most people not. And also is so they don't get crazy about thinking about the future. Then the other thing is also they have a lot of time. So it's not, I work for a German company at the moment as a programmer, so we are drilled that everything has to be very, very efficient, and every email you send, you're really thinking about, should that be sent or shouldn't that be sent, to be as efficient as you can. But it takes a toll, man. Like I've now worked for this company 6 months, and it takes a toll. Beforehand, I had my own company, I was on my own speed, which was already adapted to Colombia, and it takes a toll. It's crazy how much, it's just how much you're thinking about stuff that I don't know if it's really necessary, and it's surely not good for my health and for my well-being. Here in Colombia, on the other hand, you can feel that people have time for each other. That has kind of two aspects. First of all, if you go, let's say, to a coffee shop, that it's normal that people will talk with each other, like the clerk will talk with you, exchange some things. If you're maybe not from here, they're gonna ask questions for where you're from and things, and you just have this nice interhuman connection to people here. But on the other hand, that means if you're not the person right at the clerk, like at the desk, that you have to wait in line, right? So that's the trade-off we have with that. That's the thing why you have to wait in the bank if you want to get something done for an hour at least. So those are all of those things. But I think the trade-off is well worth it. So it just is this interhuman connection with people here. People have time for you as a human being and not just seeing you as kind of a cash register, and they have to get you through it because the next one is already coming. It's just very nice here in the Colombian culture, but also comes with its downsides. Yeah, that was already it. I thought I want to make this video because I'm losing more and more this view of how things were when I just came here, because I'm used to so many things that I just know at the moment, and before I lose everything or lose the memory of how things were and what I actually learned here, because I'm now just involved in everything like that. I wanted to make this video with, I think, just some learnings I did experienced over the last 3 years. Yes, I hope this video helped. If you like videos like that, which go a little bit more deeper into culture here in Colombia than, let's say, your standard top 10 things to do in Medellín, Colombia, then subscribe to this channel if you want to support it. Even we have a Patreon channel where you can support the cause, that we are able to still keep up doing these videos. Yeah, that was already it for this video. Hope it helped. See you in the next one.